I am scared of how much both you and I are in on Olave. I'm scared of how much you and I are both in on a player that is going to be catching footballs from Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. Like, I'm very nervous about how we both are in on him. Like, it feels like it's only ends in pain. What is up, everybody? My name is Raymond Summerlin. This is the Sharp Angles podcast, and we are back for another round of drafting best ball teams with our friends over at DraftKings. Rich Hribar, who's joining me here, I'm going to introduce in a second, is joining me. We're going to draft a team in the best ball $15 million millionaire, which it's a little bit, I don't know how much that rolls off the tongue, but it's fine. It's a wonderful competition over at DraftKings. And actually, we're partnering with them this year, and they're offering a great deal. If you enter a lineup in this contest we're about to draft for, the $15 million best ball contest, for just $20, you will score another best ball ticket to play free for your chance to win that tournament, giving you a second shot to win big. The link to do that is in the description of this podcast. You also find it over at Sharp Football Analysis. Like, make sure you take part in this. Rich and I, because we're trying to talk about this as we go, and because we're trying to do it, give you information as we're drafting, we're probably going to make this look a little bit harder than it actually is. We're going to try to get a good team today, but this is so much fun drafting in best ball. Rich, it's what I've been doing all summer, and I'm happy to do it once again with you, even if maybe the results last time around didn't go our way.
Listen, that's why you fire bullets. You get these reps in the summertime, and listen, we are checking off all the boxes this offseason already. Like, it's mid-July. We already had a fireworks incident. A player's already been arrested. We got 2 wide receivers threatening to hold out, and a running back told us how much wide receiver he's going to play already. So the bingo card is getting fully checked off already in mid-July, right before camps open up. You know this from your days at NBC and Roto World and writing blurbs. I mean, we are hitting peak offseason right here.
The running back's going to play more receiver. It's my favorite trope. There's never been a better offseason trope because we fall for it every single year. This year, I try to not even pay attention to it, but I believe it's Jahmyr Gibbs you were referencing, who referenced
and Dylan Sampson as well. So I may have more fun with that one.
Well, yeah, we're going to avoid that topic for as much as possible. But yeah, Dylan Sampson might have more time in the backfield than we anticipated at least a few weeks ago. But we'll have to see how that goes. But you mentioned all of this like super off-season stuff, and we're right here in the midst of just the off-season, right? But there's a ton going on at the website, courtesy of Rich, and he's not going to gas himself up, so I want to gas him up. Last week, he released all of his tiers, and the way he does tiers is interesting. I want you to talk about it here in a second, but I have said numerous times, Rich's tiers are the best way to get ready for the fantasy football season. You will not find a better way to do it, and so make sure you go and read that. Now he's coming out with this very interesting odds and trends series he does every year that looks at regression and stuff like that. So like, there's a ton going on over at the website. Talk a bit about tiers and how you do them, because I think that's a interesting place to start now that those behemoths are available.
Yeah, they are a labor of love. A lot of details, and you have to edit them. So I apologize, in advance.
No, it's worth it.
You come right off of Warren's book into tears, like you just the editing fiesta.
It's fine. I'm going to Hot Springs on Friday, so life's gonna be good. So it'll be fine. We're gonna be okay.
But I do love to do tiers because, like you said, I do structure my tiers a little bit differently. A lot of people just like chop up their rankings and say, like, here's a tier of players and here's where the firewall hits. But I like to think about it based on, archetypes of players, whether it be like a receiving back or, a running back that's more dependent on, rushing production or touchdowns, or a slot receiver, or a vertical target, right? Those things. Because then you can start to find like your arbitrage angles where you're like, oh, yeah, this player is very similar to this player, but he's 20 picks later or 30 picks later. But when you look at like their actual situation, it's very similar in how they get utilized. So it helps you just get a little bit more clarity. Like, like last year we had James Cook in the same tier, with like Devin Achane, right? And we didn't have the full run out with receptions, but it helped us out. Like, get those touchdown productions and get that bump for James Cook that we thought he was going to get with Latavius Murray being off of the Bills last year. So those are just things that can kind of illuminate some things that maybe you missed or maybe wait in your draft on some guys. But definitely love those. I really love the next two series that I do out of the tiers, where I just take a look at the league as a whole, the state of the league. And like last year, this put us onto a lot of, running backs over receivers, right? Like we were looking at like the trends of how the NFL was starting to combat a lot of what the defensive meta was, a lot of too high safeties and a lot of nickel defense. And we said, all right, look at teams are starting to play heavier personnel and play less 3 wide receiver sets. They're starting to run the football more. And we saw running backs have their most rushing usage, in a season over the past decade. We look at the amount of running backs that had 300 touches compared to previous years, and 300 rush attempts went way up. So I really like that. And then next week will be the team series, like the team regression series, where we're looking at like converting yardage into touchdowns, red zone production, touchdown rates, like all of those things. And, last year that gave us a lot of illumination as well, not just for being cautious on teams like the 49ers, Cowboys, and like Dolphins. And regression works in mysterious ways. You can't really expect all the things that ran hot in those teams, like the injury stuff, that happened, but that did happen. And we were a little more cautious on those teams, especially at the premium draft investment. And then we were on teams like the Broncos and the Falcons and the Commanders, right? Like through these team series. And a lot of those teams provided some of the best values that we had. So I really love taking a step back from doing all the player stuff, because, it's fantasy football time. Like if you go on X or Blue Sky or YouTube, like you can find all the player content you want. And that's what I did in tiers too. You won't find player profiles like anywhere else like those, but then it's nice to come out of those player profiles and say like, all right, let's take a step back and let's look at the state of the league and let's look at these teams from a top down performance. And that's what I really, really love, setting the bar and then moving right through August.
I didn't want to stop you there because I agree with all of it. And I like this series that you're on this week and next week, like how much they gave us was great. But we're actually up here at a couple picks. We ended up with pick
nice.
11 we're actually on the clock now. Christian McCaffrey just went off the board, which was someone I was hoping falls because of kind of the way we feel about him. We have, Genty's here if we wanted to go running back, but we have Neighbors, we have Brian Thomas, Drake London. Quick off the cuff, who you kind of looking for at this back turn?
Yeah, I would be looking at like Devin Achane here probably as like as my top guy, especially coming off the trade of Jonnu Smith. I think he should be a first round pick. He's starting to get there. I like picking in the back third too. I like being able to split here. This is my favorite spot. We get a little early Tyreek Hill jump at the 2-3 turn. You never really see that happen.
I feel like we have to take Neighbors here just based on this is going to be a very unique kind of situation.
You get in the second round Neighbors, yeah.
A second round Neighbors when you've got Achane ahead of it. I think Achane is interesting as well. I don't normally start with running backs. Like the exceptions I'll make is for McCaffrey if McCaffrey really slides into kind of this back half of the first round, as he does very often. But like I'm more like 12th. If he's there, I'm interested in that just because of just the upside possibility of him and what that could be. You've made that case a lot. I don't think we need to make that again. Yeah. But I do think, like if you're going to take some running back shots at Achane, it's very interesting because what we saw from him last year with Tua, and again, what you kind of laid out in that running back trends piece that you wrote earlier this week about, if we're looking at these target rates and we're looking at kind of what we can get from Achane, especially without Jonnu there, even though Darren Waller is more of a receiver than a tight end in that same vein as Jonnu Smith, he's not used in the same areas as Jonnu Smith. And so if we're looking for the closer around the line of scrimmage, unless they're going to start using Waddle there a lot more, unless they're going to start using Hill there a lot more, if Tua is healthy, I think we're going to see a lot of targets from Achane. And the thing about that is, if we get his workload from last year paired with something even resembling what his efficiency was as a rookie, then you're talking about the overall running back one. Like that's the kind of upside we're talking about. Mm-hmm. So that's why Achane is somebody who I am willing to kind of take that shot on, even though I'm shying away from running back builds for the most part. Like there is a place for it for sure.
Yeah, I like to do, like I'm usually in the back third. I do like that anchor start where you can get one of those, 3 down running backs that tend to do it all. And then you can just kind of load up at wide receiver, circle back. Achane, I was like really kind of like on the fence, like, do I move him over Jahmyr Gibbs or not? And ultimately, like I just couldn't do it because I, have kind of like this thought in my head of like, what if, John Morton just really wants to have Jahmyr Gibbs be the driver of this offense. Like if it was still Ben Johnson, I think I'd have a lot more confidence. It would be the kind of what we've seen that the Detroit backfield do. But what if, John Morton says like it's the Jahmyr Gibbs time, and like so I still couldn't quite vault him over. But I think the fact that I was even considering it shows just where Devin Achane belongs, though. In terms of that. And then I do think that he's going to run with a lot more efficiency this year. I mean, just by one default to having Austin Jackson back in, his splits with and without Austin Jackson were tremendous. And it was nearly 50-50. He had the high ankle sprain. He did have a double his explosive run rate with Austin Jackson on the field. The guards, I think, are going to be better this year. So I do think we're going to see more rushing efficiency, maybe pull some targets down a little bit, but it still is in the range of outcomes for him to be, a top 5 guy in catches per game still in that offense.
Coming back around, just kind of resetting the draft. London going there at the 2-3 at spot 15 is interesting. Brock Bowers at 21, Trey McBride at 27. So we're seeing that. And here in the middle of the third round, we're seeing the quarterbacks now with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I was going to mention that we're in kind of an interesting spot here, where we're drafting, that we could be in that spot to pick up the back end of that first quarterback tier, the back end of the first tight end tier, which is really just George Kittle. And so it'd be interesting to see kind of what we have available here. We also are looking at Devontae Adams, Kyren Williams, Terry McLaurin, Smith and Jigbo, somebody I'm just not drafting this high, even in full PPR. We have Breece Hall there. If we want to take a shot on that, there's some, there's certainly some reasons to like him. Any overarching thoughts here as we head into our pick here in the third round, pick 35?
No, we've got a lot of flexibility here. We can, we're looking at, we can do, like you said, we can do a Kittle here with one of these picks if we want to just get that out of the way. We can just keep taking receivers, but it, like you said, we're at kind of like that JSN kind of, wall.
Terry McLaurin, JSN, and we're both kind of down on both of them.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh no, Marvin Harrison Jr. did.
He went. Marvin Harrison Jr. just went. All right, let's do Kittle here because I do think there is a
little bit of time here.
There's a significant drop off after Kittle. Kittle is that guy, and I do think he's going a little bit too far behind. It's not many picks, but when you're in the upper part of the draft, like 5 or 6 picks is actually pretty significant. And I've been liked getting Kittle here, but that does leave us with what do we do on the way back? I mean, are we just going to have to bite?
No, I think we're going to have to take one of those guys, whether it be probably a JSN. I think when we hope that
well, there he is.
No, yeah, there you go.
All right, so we're taking Terry, and it's funny that we're taking Terry here because I mean, we've talked about this a long, long time already. I feel like this offseason, I feel like we've said it too much, but I guess we should reset it. There are bad markers here for Terry McLaurin. I guess this price, top of the 4th round, pick 38, it's not terrible, but there are some really questionable touchdown numbers from last year. What does his target share look like? Even with the receiver situation last year, his target rate per route was not what we wanted. We didn't get that creative usage out of Cliff Kingsbury, even though, obviously from a touchdown perspective, it worked. Like there are lots of concerns here with Terry McLaurin, but at some point, you got to pick somebody, and there we are.
Yeah, I mean, I could have been maybe like coaxed into, someone else if you wanted to, like if you felt bullish on like a Cortland Sutton or any like a Ted McMillan or something, or you wanted to take a shot on one of the running backs like a Breece Hall.
This is an example of like, as we're trying to talk through this and we're trying to do content, right? And we're trying to like play off each other. I would have taken Hampton there just from an upside perspective and seen what happens. Obviously the news with Najee Harris seems to be positive. And we hope that it is, like, obviously we hope that for him, but we still don't know what that is. And then we saw a report come out, we're recording this on Wednesday evening. We saw a report come out on Wednesday that if Najee's forced to miss any time in training camp, that helps Hampton out quite a bit, which obviously makes a lot of sense. But hearing
don't forget Najee, even though he's a veteran, is changing teams. Like him,
absolutely.
It still is a big deal, him missing time, especially if he's going to start on the NFI list to open camp. Just any ground he gives away to Hampton just expedites the potential that Hampton could take over the backfield.
Yeah, and so I've already done something I wouldn't have done here. I'd have just taken Hampton there, right? And so here we are. But that's kind of the thing here.
Yeah, I would have made you force Terry McLaurin on us. If you
Yeah,
but
I should have pushed. The timer was running down. I am interested in Brees Hall. Brees Hall went right after us. So we went Kyron, Kittle for us, then Hurts, Smith and Jigma, McLaurin, and then Brees Hall. You had something interesting in your quarterbacks about scrambling quarterbacks and targeting players. Actually, Pat Doherty, our old friend and colleague over at NBC Sports, he mentioned how Brees Hall was his best baller, his DraftKings best baller this year. And I'm in on that. But I also had that. I just had your voice in the back of my head about scrambling quarterbacks. Are we going to get that passing production? But there was an interesting nugget you had about what we saw from Fields last year, and how often we still kind of saw running backs targeted. So I was interested if you could expand on that a little.
I mean, Fields, was fifth in target rate to running backs. And I would say, based on, when you look at Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall's still the second best target in that offense. And depending how you feel about Mason Taylor, unless you're a huge Josh Reynolds fan. But I would assume that Brees Hall, even if he does maybe lose some goal line work to Braylon Allen, which may or may not happen, right? We don't know what Tanner Angston's really thinking about doing with that backfield. Aaron Glenn came out like early in the offseason and said, like, we have 3 RB1s. But I do think from a receiving perspective, Brees Hall is still going to be utilized heavily in the pass game. And I do think Tanner Engstrom's going to have Justin Fields getting the ball out like Arthur Smith did have for the first time with Justin Fields. So, yeah, I think Brees Hall is interesting at his price point, just from an archetypical stance.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think it's because we could just have a team that wants to run the ball, we could just have their clear running back one. And if you're getting that in the 4th round at pick 39, that's certainly a good place to be. We are getting to this part of wide receivers that I don't like. This is why, I feel a lot better about our team, but we're just going to have to bite the bullet and go, with later wide receivers here.
Oh no, we're fine.
We just saw Pickens go off the board, Tet McMillan go off the board. See, I kind of disagree. I don't like being in this position. And this is why I don't, this is why I wouldn't have taken Achane, right? But we're building a team together. I'm not criticizing it because it makes a lot of sense. It'd probably be better than any of my teams. But because I get to this point in the draft, especially when I pick last, or when I'm picking in a spot, and, Ridley's gone, Pickens gone, Devontae Smith going, later than that was the big hope I had, that Devontae Smith was going to come back around to us. You have Zay Flowers here. We're about to go on the clock. At this point, I feel like I just have to take a running back. We're not taking, Deebo Samuel. We're not taking Chris Godwin because of the injury stuff. And so we're at a point where I guess we just take James Conner. Do we take an upside on Travion Henderson? I feel like we're at a point now where we're just taking a couple running backs. We're gonna end up with a heavy running back.
Oh, no, I'd be completely fine at Chris Olave here. I think Chris Olave is a pretty solid pick right here.
We could push Chris Olave. Let's do it. Why not? There you go. There he goes. Chris Olave. He was already on my queue. I had him queued up. So we're good.
Yeah, especially in full PPR. I did a show with Harmon last week where we talked about Chris Olave potentially being a pretty good value in these full PPR drafts where he goes. I know we're back on the clock again, so I'll try not to talk through it. But
we could have definitely pushed Chris Olave to the next pick, but we're in it now. Connor goes. I'd have gone Connor probably, and then Olave would have been my pick. You want to take a shot on Harvey here? We're running out of time. Anybody?
I mean, we got Harvey. What do we have? Jerry Jeudy. We've got I can't really see where the exact queue is.
Yeah. We'll do Harvey, and then we'll talk it through later.
Guys like Diggs. We've got
Diggs.
I don't mind even like you said, it could have been Connor, Olave flipped or whatever, but I mean it's still solid either way.
Yeah,
we've got the wide receiver one on every team, assuming Terry McLaurin is going to be with the team, come August. But
that would be ideal. The thing is that Olave in these drafts does go later. We'd have definitely had to take him at 6'2". He would not get back.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't have been back
at 7'11". But he goes more like the end of the 6th round. Actually, I think he goes more the beginning of the 7th round. And so I do think that's one of those, again, it's one of those situations where
he wouldn't have here though, because we're already at Rome Odunze.
Yeah, you're probably right. He probably would have gone, but I still think we could have pushed him. I definitely think, that person at the 12 turn would have taken probably Zay over him. Maybe would have taken Jeudy ahead of him. But you are right that wide receiver has gotten more thinned out than I think it usually does by this point, which is interesting.
It's a heavier room. Connor and Harvey at the 6th turn, you really don't see a lot of it. Usually, especially Harvey, he's usually pretty popular in these full PPR formats with just the Sean Payton targets, right? Everyone's always talked about those. We'll see if he's the guy getting them or not, but I think he's a solid pick at that spot though, for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm pretty concerned about Harvey from a Like my thought on Harvey is we were annoyed all last year that Javonte Williams kept getting touches, but he kept getting touches because he was the guy they trusted in pass protection. RJ Harvey's a rookie who we know was not good in pass protection in college. Like I just feel like we're setting
But
ourselves
that's
up
more of
for
a managed league problem.
absolutely. No, you're absolutely right about that. But I do feel like we're setting ourselves up for the same disappointment, right? Like we're setting ourselves up for the same him just being the new Jaleel McLaughlin behind J.K. Dobbins, who has J.K. Dobbins has a much more like pass protection kind of profile that we saw with Javonte Williams last year. And so I do worry about that. But Harvey could just be better than those guys, and maybe he picks it up. So there's lots there. I do wonder as we come up to the next point. Patrick Mahomes just went off the board at 6'11", and so we're now getting into that second range of quarterbacks. We saw in our last draft we got absolutely destroyed by a run of quarterbacks. Is moving up in this next part. Is this where we're going to start, really thinking about?
Well, we don't have to force any stacks. Like Purdy would be the only dude that would be even in consideration because Jaden Daniels is gone, obviously, and then you're not worried about Tyler Shuck and Jaxson Dart at this point. So we don't have to worry about getting sniped at this point like we did last time with trying to build that Dallas double.
I do wonder if this is one where we could do like a Pearsall.
Oh yeah, we could definitely do a lot of. We have a lot of secondary stacks of options as well.
Yeah, right. But right here at the turn, we'll see what happens with the quarterbacks here. Jennings did just go off the board at 75. I was interesting with all the contract stuff around him. If we were going to see him fall a little bit, that's I think about where he normally goes. And so we didn't see any real concerns around that. I do like. Could we just have a normal 49ers wide receiver offseason just once?
Never.
Could we do that? That would be great. But yes, that'll be interesting. What do you think about that? Like, we're not seeing the quarterback run here. I do think it's happening. I know you're higher on Purdy, I think, than consensus, but that would have us taking him over Baker, Nix, Murray, Fields, Goff. I think if we end up taking Pearsall here, we probably just wait until 9/11 and hope for the best.
I think we've got a lot of freedom here. Still, I have no idea what the running back board looks like or the receiver board.
The running back board, we've got Pacheco, Caleb Johnson, Brian Robinson Jr., Judkins, Jordan Mason, who I know you like a lot. This might be a spot for him.
I mean, Pacheco, I think would be real solid here.
Pacheco would be a great pick here. And then at wide receiver, we got Pearsall, Golden, Reed, Mooney, Abuka.
I like all I like all those guys. So I think we fingers crossed hope that Pacheco doesn't go here. Yeah, that happens on every stream I've ever been on in the history of streams.
I really like Pearsall here, especially if we can just bank.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I won't force you off if you feel strong about Pearsall. I'm good at that.
All right, I like Pearsall here, and then I think we grab one of these running backs coming back, maybe Mason. Caleb Johnson. There goes Caleb Johnson. Obviously with Judkins, we're not feeling good about that situation right now. Brian Robinson Jr., we're not feeling great about that, especially since I think we're going to end up with Krosky Merritt at the end of this thing. Probably would be my
we don't have
guess.
To take him out of it.
Yeah,
but I don't mind even just saying like, hey, we could throw Jaden Reed into this team too. That's fine as well because we're just throwing stuff at wide receiver. I'll let you make the final call. Reed. Yeah, I like Jaden Reed, especially in these best ball drafts because of the reasons we said. Him, Downs, and Shakir, those slot dependent guys. I gave the spiel last draft about those guys.
No, Jaden Reed is interesting because first of all, if you paid attention to the podcast last year, we had a running bit about us being wrong but then right about Jaden Reed, and it turns out we ultimately ended up being right about him for the reason that he just doesn't play in 3 wide receiver sets. And ultimately, until that happens, it's going to be difficult to really tomorrow him. But I do think
which is a managed league problem. Like I gave that whole thing like last week, and tomorrow's article is going to have even more on that about the reduction of 3 wide receiver sets and some of the guys that are injured, by not playing in 2 wide receiver sets and stuff like that. So if you want some more information on that, a little teaser for that.
I'm interested to see here. Caleb Johnson went after we took Pearsall at the turn. We saw Caleb Johnson and Hawkinson go there. Hawkinson, it seems, is moving up ahead of Ingram here.
Addison, everyone was reminded that Addison is facing a potentially small suspension. I think it's a minimum of 3 games, which it'll probably be right around that. And I think just everyone kind of lost sight of that. But Hawkinson's one of those guys that definitely concerns me because he has a little bit of that Dalton Kincaid to him, right? Like
Yeah.
because that Josh Oliver plays in the run game. The Vikings have signaled they're going to insulate JJ McCarthy with more running. He's never scored more than 6 touchdowns in a season. So I'm a little bit hesitant at like where his ADP is to be like all in, but I mean, it's tight end. I get it. Gamers have to take some of these guys after Kittle.
Yeah. Here we go with the quarterbacks. We got so we have Dobbins go off at 92.88. Then we got Kyler, Baker, Bo, Goff. Here we go, baby. Here come the quarterbacks flying off the board. It just happens. Once that is, once the beer is shotgunned, right? Then it's all coming out. Like that's where we are with quarterbacks at this point. Nix is normally the one that starts it. We got to Kyler this time, which is a little bit surprising, but not completely. But it is just interesting that you hit this critical mass point with quarterbacks, and everybody just says, "All right, I got to go and get one," and they freak out, and here we are. We still have Mason on the board. I do think if Purdy gets back to us, that's definitely one of our picks here because of kind of what we built and how we feel about that offense. I am becoming more and more interested in Michael Pittman. We also have Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman, Jaden Higgins, Keon Coleman, Bateman, Shaheed. We don't want another Saint for sure. Trey Harris,
Tyler Shuck double, baby.
Yeah, that's not what we're interested
Johnson on the way out. Fun fact, Tyler Shuck was college roommates with Juwan Johnson at Oregon.
I did know that. And Juwan Johnson started his career as a Penn State wide receiver. Just really fun journeys for the battery mates there in New Orleans. We see David Njoku off the board. Obviously, we're not fascinated. We're not interested here in tight end with Kittle.
Usually don't see this big of a gap too between Caleb and Jalen Warren either.
So I have Jalen Warren like highlighted here, and I have him queued up because I think if he gets back to us, we have to take him. There goes Mason. I expected that. I don't, especially in this kind of situation where you're not having to like make the bets on where we're going from week to week. Like Jalen Warren is he's a really, really good pick this late, I think.
Especially in these types of formats, right? Because I think there's a lot of outs where Jalen Warren can still win, right? Like he could just be outright better than Caleb Johnson. The Steelers could be in a position where just Jalen Warren's, pass catching role is more vital to like that you're just in more game scripts where, he's involved. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that will target the running back. So, I mean, he made it to us, correct?
Yeah, but I think I'm going to take Brock Purdy here because the person at 12 took Johnson. Do we think he's going to take Johnson and Warren?
I mean, who knows? He might double up the backfield. We see that too. But I'm fine taking Purdy though. Do the stack if you want.
We're doing it. We took Warren. If he takes Purdy, we fight it. We ride it on. No, we're good. All right, we got Purdy back.
So we Warren and Purdy. Yeah, we're in good shape here.
Yeah, I'm actually liking this team, and that worries me that I like this team.
You've run the full gambit. You hated it, and now you're coming back around. It's coming back in the middle.
It worries me that I like this team because I never draft the team this way, and so liking it is making me question my entire existence. So I don't know about that. I do like Jaden Higgins here going at the turn. Ayuk went right in front of us. Pittman, Jaden Higgins. I've been getting a lot of Jaden Higgins. I ended up with him and Scott Fishbowl. I'm very in on Higgins. I like Christian Kirk. I like what he can be, but everything that we've heard from Higgins has been great. Obviously, we have the contingency value with Nico Collins. He's a young receiver. He's a receiver that I liked when I watched him. Obviously, not a scout, but receiver I liked when I watched him. I'm all in. I think on Jaden Higgins at his price right now. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. I do like Kirk in these best ball drafts just because of the same reason I talked about with Jaden Reed, Khalil Shakir, and Josh Downs. I think it does help him. This format does, whereas, in a managed league, you're just not going to want to deal with Christian Kirk, right? Like you're just not going to want to play that weekly game because you're either going to play him or you're not. And more often than not, he's going to be a guy you're on the fence of playing over a matchup, or he's had a couple like low target games because he's not playing in 3 wide receiver sets. So Higgins gives you that kind of like full on upside as like a bench receiver where if Nico misses, we know he's probably going to play in 2 wide receiver sets. I do have some concerns that he's going to win in man coverage at the NFL, but those are just questions we have to see answered on the field. And, he's going around guys like Keon Coleman, who already had a chance to pass that answer those questions and didn't. So I think he's in the right spot in terms of draft capital. Football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your dream team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. Across the whole season, every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for a share of $15 million. And if you're looking for someone to plug into your best ball lineup, there's nothing better to buy than year 2 wide receivers. Looking at wideouts that have been selected outside of the top 24 based on years in the league, second-year wideouts have delivered the highest hit rates for beating their ADP and delivering wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 scoring seasons. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
We continued the quarterback run after Purdy. We've got Fields, we've got May. Obviously, all sharp football analysis is Team Drake May. You can read more about that at the either in Warren Sharp's book or in the draft kit that Rich writes. All of it is Team Drake May. You get all of that, by the way, at sharpfootballanalysis.com or sharp.football. Get $5 off using promo code SHARP5. So make sure you go and check that out. We have Justin Herbert. We have Jordan Love. JJ McCarthy going here. So it's a bit of a run here. Especially this group of running backs. Sometimes I take a shot on Cam Scatterbo because I do like Scatterbo. I know you feel differently, but like this run of running backs is like this group that I'm just, I don't care. Like I would just much rather take Tracy, Najee Harris, Tajay Spears, maybe you convince me. Javonte Williams, not a chance I'm drafting him at all this year. Well, if Javonte Williams beats me and he comes back to being what he was before, great. I'm happy for him because I love Javonte Williams. I love what he was before that injury. I hope that it happens for him, but he's not going to be on my team. Charbonnet, I do have some interest there, but like there's a lot of running backs here. I'm just like, I don't really care. This is a point where I can really stack up on wide receivers or finish off tight ends or whatever I want to do here. So let's look at what we've got here. We've got running back. We've got Ramondre still there. We've got Rashid White, Jaden Blue. We've got Tootin at wide receiver. We've got Mims still.
Where are we at on QBs?
We have one QB, just Purdy. And
we do
Penix,
Tua here?
Stafford.
Can we do Tua with Achane?
Tua just went, didn't he?
Yeah. Tua went?
Tua just went, yeah.
Oh, I can't see it.
We have
you're at 8 seconds. You better hurry.
I'm taking Mims. I'm all in on Mims this year. I like kind of what we saw at the end of last season. I don't think Pat Bryant is really like a major addition. And so I'll take Mims here and be pretty happy with that. What do you think about any of these running backs here? White, Stevenson, Blue, Tootin. I do think Stevenson being here is at least interesting, but I'm not super excited. We've also got Thielen here. We've got Kyle Williams, got Hollywood Brown. Already have 6 wide receivers. But we'll probably end with 8 or 9. So there's room here. At tight end, we've got Jonnu, we've got Likely.
I still think we got to look at QB2 here. Where
Penix, Stafford, Young, Smith, Ward is kind of where we are.
Yeah, we don't really have like any other secondary stacks, but we do need to, I think, get one of those guys. I think we do need to get one. If you have a preference, whether it be Stafford or Penix, I'm good with that. If you think there's
let's just take Penix again. We're going to end up with 2 Penix, but like I think your point about Penix, because of what we saw at the end of last year, he could just be like a Jameis Winston, right? Like he could just come out and have just a wild downfield efficiency kind of year. I think that is something that's worth chasing. I guess the question is, if we have Purdy and Penix, are you still going to want to chase a third receiver?
I think probably. I think it just makes sense. I think in these DraftKings, these 20-round drafts, especially we don't have an elite anchor. I think just adding that third quarterback, because from a points perspective, it's just adding more points to the roster. We could wait on like a Jaxson Dart on this team because we do have neighbors.
I've already favorited Jaxson Dart. I already got him in the queue.
We do know at the end of the year he's probably going to be starting games. So we can also do Shuck at the end of this team because we do have Olave. Just any of those guys are going to be available, and they're starting games. It's still adding points versus the
Yeah.
the other players that are going to be available. I do think on DraftKings, I do favor the 3 QB builds, just in general.
I agree. I feel kind of similarly at tight end as well there with that kind of thing. Like if I end up with like 6 quarterbacks and tight ends, that gives me 14 other spots. So I end up with a 9-5 build or an 8-6 build, wide receivers to running backs. That makes a lot of sense to me in kind of the way to build these rosters. As it stands, we're at 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 1 tight end coming here to the end of the 12th round. Quentin Johnson, excuse me, just saw go off the board. He is somebody I've been interested in recently as well.
Especially in these formats.
Absolutely. And with the Trey Harris stuff, I do wonder, I had this exact thing with him last year, and I drafted him a bunch last year, and it turned out okay, especially from a full season perspective, especially where I was getting him. But like, it was weird last year that we were just writing off a first round wide receiver. It's weirder now that he was okay last year and we're still just writing him off. Like, it's odd.
He got better.
This is what we're doing. Yeah. He got better, and he's still a former first round wide receiver. And we're just like, no, they drafted Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith, who I do like. And so I guess he's done. It's just strange that this is the way we're approaching it, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote it up. I mean, I've thought all along that, a lot of people have just penciled in Trey Harris to take over Quentin Johnson. I actually thought they're probably going to ease him in, and he's going to be in more of that Josh Palmer role. Now, does that mean over the course of the season, like Trey Harris can be like a back half of the year guy? We see this with rookies all the time. I get that angle as well, but I don't think Quentin Johnson's just going to go away out of this offense. I mean, he led the team in end zone targets last year too.
So we're coming up on our pick here. I'm going to reset the board for you. We have Kyle Williams, McMillan, Beck, Palmer, but he's gone a little bit later. We have Bigsby here, who obviously I'm high on, but I think we drafted last time. Algier, who I think is somebody you like in this kind of a range. Doesn't really work with Penix, but it is interesting. Yeah. Jalen Wright, Dylan Sampson. Jalen Wright is obviously somebody we could be interested in as well, but like we already have A-Chain. We have Ferguson, we have Ertz, we have Strange. Any of those names pop out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still fine with Tank. I think he just still makes sense. He's a solid pick. We could get touchdown equity. I don't think just because we took on one team doesn't mean that he's still not a solid pick for right here.
I'm trying not to force you into having Tank on too many teams, because I know that he's my guy here. And so we end up with Aaron Rodgers and Dylan Sampson going off the board. Still got Algier there, but again, I don't know how much it works. Kyle Williams here. We could try to take one of these tight ends. I mean, maybe take Strange. I like Strange here. Anybody stick out?
Yeah, any of these guys is fine if you want to do. Yeah, I mean, I like Ferguson a little more than Strange, but I have no problem with Strange either.
All right, let's do Ferguson then. Why do you like Ferguson more? That's interesting to me.
I just think we know he's going to be on the field, right? The Jaguars are another one of these teams that they signed 2 run blockers. They signed, Hunter Long and Johnny Munt. And if they're going to be a team that maybe tries to run a little bit more, we still haven't seen Brenton Strange play full-time tight end. He didn't do that last year either. So I still think there is some fragility that when they do go to these 2 tight end sets, he might not have the complete run out that we are kind of hoping for, because again, like we follow these trends, does he end up being in like a Dalton Kincaid role, right? To a guy like Hunter Long, who they went out and got, who was a great run blocker. So that's just my one hesitation. Whereas we know Ferguson's just not, he's going to be out there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Ferguson is he just might not be very good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think any of these tight ends are very good at this point.
That's fair. Well, I don't know why you talk that way about Mason Taylor. But yeah, I do wonder, like, if he's just not any good. But the other tight ends did get their shot last year, albeit without Dak for the most part. I believe Dak was already gone by the time they got out there, and so we'll see. Right. We'll see what happens with that. We did see a couple more tight ends. Strange goes off the board here. I think this thing with Beck still being drafted, and I don't understand.
It's just rookie stuff.
I don't. So all we hear, so first of all, when he gets drafted, you still have Jacoby Myers there. He's still there. Like I thought that maybe there's a chance we see Jacoby Myers leave. And if that happens, all this changes. But
Right.
his skill set just seems to overlap so much with Myers. Then you get Thornton getting
And
all the
Bowers.
steam.
I mean, to be
And
honest.
Bowers, absolutely. And then you get Thornton getting all the steam in the offseason. And I don't understand. Like this feels like people just refusing to get off their priors. Like I don't understand why we're doing this with Beck, but I mean I'm wrong about lots of stuff. So we'll see.
I mean, he's a rookie. I think you get
Yeah.
to this point and they're adding bench receivers and they look at some of the names and they look at some of these veteran, like a Romeo Dobbs, right? And they're like, well,
Yeah.
I know who kind of Romeo Dobbs is. It's a boring pick. I'll at least draft someone I don't know, right? And you see like a lot of picks get made based off of that. So I don't really have a lot of like a huge problem with that. It's just it's just a lot of gamer mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. Keenan Allen off the board here. I like your kind of take on Keenan Allen. I've shied away more from Amari Cooper than Keenan Allen, but still Keenan Allen as well. Because where's he going? Like where's he ending up that we're feeling good about that? Josh Palmer coming off the board really hurts my soul. I thought that might be a place where we could.
Yep. Do you like Josh
go.
Palmer a lot? I mean, these are all guys that I had over Beck, who you talked about are best, like Darius Slayton, Cedric Tillman, Diami Brown. Like these are all guys I have over him.
So we have here at running back, I mean, Dowdle, Allen. I mean, we have Chubb. I'm not even mentioning Chubb's name because I don't.
No. We don't need him on this team either.
No, we do have Ford here, which is interesting. Again, given the news, Dylan Sampson.
I don't think we need him though, right? Like our running backs look pretty good. Right.
Our running backs are not bad right now. That is for sure. At wide receiver here, we've got Pierce, Hopkins, Bryant, Austin, Michael Wilson. We got Thornton there, Jalen Noel, Diami Brown. Like I do think we're kind of in that point where we're just taking some shots here on some of these guys. Anybody stand out?
I think one of these picks should be Dart for sure. And I don't know if you want to do like Slayton and Dart together. I would be fine with that.
This is real early on Dart, but let's do it anyway. Just to
I mean, but we're at the firewall, right? Because we've already had Bryce Young go. Aaron Rodgers is already gone.
We've got Daniel Jones. We've got Richardson, Wilson.
Yeah.
Like that's
I just don't want to miss him. I would like this to be a 3 team, and I'd rather have Dart than Shuck.
Yeah. Breaking. Breaking news. All right, so we end up with Dart and Slayton there. Again, we're over ADP, but this is the part of the draft where that's fine.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that.
This is where drafting, especially over here at DraftKings with the 20 teams, like you're going to end up with a lot of that situation. So as it stands right now, we've got our 3 quarterbacks, we've got 4 running backs, we've got 7 wide receivers already. So we're kind of reaching the end of that, I imagine. And we've got 3 tight ends. Like we'll probably take at least one more shot, maybe 2 at wide receiver, but that's kind of the point.
We'll have 2 tight ends, right?
Oh, we have 2 tight ends. Yeah. So we'll end up with another shot at tight end, I would imagine, unless you're happy going with 2 because we ended up with Kittle. We'll have to just see how it works out.
Yeah. TBD.
Well, we could throw Theo Johnson in there. We could really get the Penn State.
Oh, baby.
The Penn State feeling going with Theo Johnson. I'm going to cue him. Why not? Just see if my dreams come true with Theo Johnson. I do think like this is a running back room we're going to need to add to with the 4. I mean, we're okay here with Achane and Harvey and Bigsby and we have
Warren.
one more and Jalen Warren. It's like we're fine here. Yeah, but we're definitely gonna have to add.
I like to throw it out. I like throwing that group of that trio just at the RB2 spot in a best ball league. Like those are all.
So you want to just go? Types. You just want to go?
No. I mean, we're gonna add some bodies, but I do like that trio behind Achane. That's a typical anchor build, right? Like you're gonna get the Harvey, Jalen Warren, spike weeks, and you hope to land on those Bigsby touchdown weeks.
Yeah, I do think it's an interesting question of like what we're building and what you're looking for in the middle rounds, because if you went really wide receiver heavy, you're probably looking more at like the Tony Pollard kind of person where you're like, all right, this guy's probably going to get me points early and then we'll see what happens late and hope to hit on upside late. Whereas if you go with that anchor build, you're not as worried about it, right? And so if it takes Harvey a while to start up, or we don't end up with Bigsby or Jalen Warren, or any of those 3 are kind of up and down in the year, you're not as worried about it because you have that Achane kind of spot there. And so it does change kind of what you're looking for in these guys. And so it is important to remember not just like, do I like this player or not? Does this fit what I'm trying to do? And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to take some upside shots and hope for the best. Because if Achane doesn't hit, this team is done anyway. Like that's it. So it doesn't. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter.
And there's Diami Brown. I do like Diami Brown in these spots too, like late, just for, especially these formats.
Will Shipley getting his steam has moved up. So right here we've got Will Shipley. We've got Hunter, who is somebody I don't think I'm taking at all. Like it's just
quorum. I don't mind Shipley. Jimmy, what's the Eagles beat right name? Is it Krasinski? Is it
yeah, Kapinski.
He said that he's gonna open in the Gainwell role, which means like he will play and like he won't just be a strict handcuff. Like he's gonna have some potential to be the guy that's in late games or potentially be a guy that plays in a 4-minute, 2-minute drill too as well. But he said he's gonna open in the Gainwell role. Like so that actually was a little more intriguing to me when he said that, because it means that he's going to have potentially a little bit of best ball standalone value too.
So at running back right now, we've got Hunter, Giddens, Mitchell, Brashard Smith.
Is there any tight ends left that are usable?
Brooks. We've got we got Theo still, Sanders, Ferguson, Higbee. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. We got 10 seconds. It's got to be Theo if we don't pick.
Yeah, Brashard Smith, any of these guys?
Let's do Brashard Smith. Did I get the draft in time? Hey,
is it? Yeah, I like Brashard Smith too.
Yeah, and Brashard Smith is like one of those guys, especially since we didn't end up with Pacheco. Brashard Smith is one of those guys that like fits that role of the passing down back. He could get there because we don't have to worry about what weeks we're starting him. He could be Justice Hill, right? We don't have to worry about what weeks we're starting him, especially in a team that's going to be pass heavy. They're going to, we think the Chiefs are going to lean more into their wide receivers and get back more to that, but they're still ultimately going to be pass heavy. They're probably going to be in close games from time to time, because I don't think they're quite as good as they have been even in the past. And we saw last year they were still in close games, but I think they were probably better. And so there's lots of things going here for Smith to just hit those passing down weeks and get you enough, weeks there for sure. All right, I got 2 more picks here. As we're looking at our team, we've got 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. This is either 2 wide receivers or a wide receiver and a tight end for me. What we've got here at tight end, we've got Freiermuth. We're not interested. Theo Johnson. Could I interest you? Some Theo Johnson.
I mean, listen, if you've got someone you want to throw here, I'm not going to push back in your round 19 call here.
We've got Taysom Hill, Terrence Ferguson, like I said, Higbee, and then after that, like there's just there's really nothing left here at tight end for sure. And we just saw Freiermuth go, which is interesting. Wide receiver, we've got some names here. We've got Coker. We've got we already have Reed, but we've got the Dontavian Wicks. Just like maybe he actually catches the ball this time, kind of situation. We've got Naylor if you want to play some. Addison's gone for a couple games. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but it's there. We have Tutu Atwell. We have Smith-Schuster. There's a lot of I just don't know about this group of people here, guys.
Yeah, I'm looking at some names here. I still never mind the round 20 Jermaine Burton dart throw.
Hey, now we are talking.
I mean, year 2, I brought it up last time. In these year 2 wide receivers, 3rd round capital, everything's been positive. I do think he's going to be a guy that is going to sneak into the back of these drafts pretty regularly as the training camps open and kind of the buzz, like his head's on straight. But Joe Burrow's talked him up already. I just feel like, on the Bengals offense, there's some contingencies upside here still too. Like, I just don't mind throwing darts on him. It's a round 19, round 20 pick.
Yeah, and I mean this was like early in these drafts when I was drafting in May. That was how I felt about Miles Sanders. Because he was just not being drafted, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And we've seen what's happened to him. And if you can grab those kind of guys before the the inflation happens, then you're
Theo Johnson was drafted.
I know he's left us. So we got Burton here. Anybody else stand out to you in this spot? Ferguson, no. Arroyo that he actually gets, Gatson that they actually get, those rookie tight ends. We've seen him more and more. Is that standing out to you? Odell is the top ADP guy here, which it's wild. but here we are.
No, I would say probably another one of these. I would just use it on a wide receiver because again, if Kittle's such a linchpin to this team, if something were to happen to him, it's probably not going to be good anyways.
How do you feel about Lambert Smith? That is somebody I have been targeting a little bit.
I just don't know how he gets enough on the field, man. How is he getting on the field?
Because I don't think that Quentin Johnson is very good
Oh,
ultimately.
you just went down. You just did a whole Quentin Johnson thing.
I know, but ultimately I just don't think he's very good.
Listen, I'll leave it in your hands.
All right, we're taking it. We're taking Lambert Smith, and I'll make my case.
There it is. I can say I have a player. I have one Keandre Lambert Smith share.
Here's my thing about Quentin Johnson. He still wasn't very good last year, right? The reason why, so I can hold two thoughts at the same time, right? I can hold the thought that I think that it's weird that we just assume he's going to go away because he's a first-round wide receiver who showed improvement in his second season, right? I can hold that thought. But I can also hold the thought that the improvement we saw from him also wasn't very good. And that I think Keandre Lambert Smith, and again, there's some Penn State bias here. Keandre Lambert Smith did not have ideal quarterback play during his college career. I think he is probably a better player than what we've seen. We already know Mike Williams is on the PUP list. We see Trey Harris is having the contract issues that every second round player is having, right? And so we don't know what's happening there. And Lambert Smith fits into that role of what they need opposite Ladd McConkey very, very well. That would be my argument in the 20th round. I obviously I'm not going to say that he might do nothing, right? That's where we are. Burton might do nothing. That's kind of the way it is. But you look at some of these other guys. Malik Washington is interesting here, but Trey Tucker, Elijah Moore / Rashee Rice.
I'm also surprised too, looking at the board, just trying to run it down. I'm surprised you don't see more Jordan Whittington drafted too in these leagues, especially on DraftKings, because we've seen when he did get the opportunity last year, he was really good on a per play basis. If something were to happen to Devontae Adams, he is the backup slot receiver.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell was already on my queue for that same reason. I know that it doesn't fit as well with the Adams thing.
Atwell's going to be in the 3 wide receiver set stuff this year, which of all, the Rams run.
Yeah, he's going to play, right? But then I also think we have an older Adams and we have Puka, who's now just has missed time throughout his career. Even though it's been great when he's been on the field, he's missed time. And so getting Atwell at this point with Robinson, no longer there. Yep. And so you could just have him. And you're right. If Adams misses time, it's probably going to be better for Whittington than it will be for Atwell, right? But ultimately,
Atwell's like a starter for the Rams.
Yeah. No, but being a starter and getting targets on that team because of the way they do their targets are two different things, right? Those are different conversations to have. He's going to play a lot of snaps. If Adams and Puka are healthy, and we also don't see them run more 12 personnel, which I believe Jordan Rodriguez brought up the idea that we could see them run more 12 moving forward, which I think is something we did see a little bit last year for them as well. So, we'll have to see. The Rams are a 3 wide receiver team. I don't think that's going to change. I think it will run through Adams and Puka. That third guy is on the field. How many targets does he get if it's running through those guys? That's really a question. I still think with Atwell being on the field, that's great. He's going to need one of those 2 guys to go down to really have a shot. He probably needs Puka to go down to have the best shot at targets. That would be my read of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just bringing up that, in these round 19, round 20s, what we saw from Whittington when he had the opportunity. It's especially on DraftKings, underdog, I could kind of see it because you have 2 fewer rounds and it's not full PPR, but he seems like a guy that's a pretty calculated dart throw given the format.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if we'd have Stafford, then we're certainly really, really into that. All right, so this is our team coming out in our second one of these drafts that we've done. We have Devin Achane, Malik Neighbors, George Kittle, Terry McLaurin, should have been Breece Hall, or should have been Hampton, really, right? With Terry McLaurin, we've got Olave. I am scared of how much both you and I are in on Olave. I'm scared of how much you and I are both in on a player that is going to be catching footballs from Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. I'm very nervous about how we both are in on him. It feels like it's only ins and pain.
It's just the price is too cheap. It's too cheap.
Yeah.
This is a proven good player. It's the same argument everyone makes for Garrett Wilson, except for Garrett Wilson goes 30 picks ahead of him.
Do you know what I think I hear? I think I hear who our best baller is for this draft. I think I hear that it's Chris Olave. So we've been doing a segment. We've been doing it with our guests. We're also doing it on these drafts. We talk about our best ballers, players that we're really interested in drafting over with our friends over at DraftKings. Again, you can be part of one of these drafts. You can take your shot at the $15 million best ball contest this summer. Check the link in the description to learn more. But we're talking about these players that we're really focusing on. I mentioned that RotoPat had Breece Hall as one of his. It sounds like for this podcast and for this week, Chris Olave is that guy for us, right? Chris Olave is that best baller who we're going to end up with on a lot of our teams. And that point you make, the target equity you're getting with this guy, even if it's in a bad offense, even if it's from quarterbacks we're not excited about. I mean, Tyler Shuck could come out and surprise, right? Like, stuff like that happens. We didn't expect to see Bo Nix be as good as he was last year. Tyler Shuck is different because he doesn't have the college experience, doesn't have the college pedigree. That's why he wasn't a first round pick, right? But like, people can come out, he could come out and surprise. His offense could come out and be good. I think Kellen Moore is somebody we at least respect as a offensive kind of guy, and so he could come out and work for that. But even if it doesn't, the target equity you're getting at the end of the 5th round here where we got him, it's just unmatched. And I like your point. I've heard you say this before. It's like, what's really the difference between Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave? What's the difference? I mean, Garrett Wilson's team has a better defense and they want to run the football more, maybe. That's kind of where we are. It makes too much sense with where Olave is going to let him pass up, more often than not.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of being left for dead. This is a proven good player on his rookie contract, on an ascending player still too. I mean, he improved again. He's averaged over 2 yards per out run every single season in the league. Garrett Wilson 0, by the way. He's going from a system that didn't really get him a lot of creative usage when he did play. I mean, he played a career low 21% of his snaps from the slot last year because Clint Kubiak is a 2 wide receiver guy with tighter splits. But we've seen Kellen Moore consistently move his lead wide receiver around. So I believe Olave is going to get a lot of like big first read. I think he's going to be a big first read target guy. He's going to move into the slot more. And in his career, when he has moved around, he's been really efficient. 2.2 yards per out run from the slot, a target rate of 28% of his slot routes. And it's not like this guy's played with like great quarterback plays either. Like, I mean, yes, Derek Carr, but like, it's like if we need someone to be a proxy of Derek Carr, I believe that's at least well within the range of outcomes of someone. In his one game that he also played with Spencer Rattler, he cooked eight catches for 107 yards. You had 14 targets in that game. Like, we're gonna have a lot of games like that from Chris Olave where he has like 14 targets and maybe he catches 55 to 60% of them, but he's going to be on the field. He's getting a ton of targets. I just think he's being left for dead, especially in the full PPR formats. The leagues where you're chasing a little more touchdown production, I think he's not as much of an upside pick. I think when you get him at a price point in these full PPR formats, he's just a glue player because we know what we're going to get from him.
That is our DraftKings Best Baller for this week. Make sure you head over to DraftKings and enter into their $15 million Best Ball contest. Remember, if you do that for just $20, enter that contest, you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play for free for share at $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. You could check the link in the description for this show to learn more about that. So make sure you do that. The other thing I'll say is that all of that information that Rich just gave about Chris Olave, that's the kind of information you're going to find in his wide receiver tiers. You'll find that as running back, quarterback, tight ends. You're going to find that in all of the content that's coming out over the next month and a half as part of our fantasy football draft kit, which again, you get for $5 off. Head over to sharpfootballanalysis.com. Use the promo code SHARP5. That's the number 5, and you can get $5 off that. So make sure you go and do that. All right, that's the team. I actually don't know if I finished the team, but we have Harvey, we had Olave, Harvey, Pearsall, Reed. Us ending up with Reed is just poetic. It's just absolutely poetic. But Warren, Purdy, Marvin Mims, Michael Penix Jr., Tank Bixby, Jake Ferguson, Jackson Dart, Darius Slayton, Will Shipley, Brashard Smith, Jermaine Burton, and the one, the only, the great Keandre Lambert Smith. That's our team. I feel much better about this team than I did about the first one we drafted. We're getting better, Rich. We're drafting. is what else?
Hey, listen, you throw these bullets in, you use them as practice, you learn the ebbs and flow of the drafts. Like we said, we knew we kind of had to get on that quarterback train, or even in the late rounds, when we knew we wanted to add Dart. Like, why even mess around? Like, just add him to the roster at that point. So yeah, I mean,
that is actually
like you. I mean, the one spot, like taking the 10,000-foot view back, like definitely taking one of those running backs, a Breece Hall or Hampton over McLaurin would have been something. But when you're on the clock and you're doing content, sometimes you click
yeah
some buttons.
yeah there you go. That's the way it goes. I think that like that basic idea of I actually completely lost my train of thought. I don't know. We're recording this in the evening. I guess the Vyvanse is worn off. I completely lost what I was about to talk about. So we'll just leave it. No one wants to hear me anyway. So we're done. That's it. That's it for us tonight. I really appreciate you listening. Like I said, go over to Sharp Football Analysis. Check out all of Rich's work. That's all wonderful. Rich actually going to have another podcast episode this week as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I believe the great Bob Harris is coming in to talk with you. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, I'm going to be on with Bob, one of my favorite people in the industry, an absolute, genuinely great soul out there. It's going to outlive us all too. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, he's healthier than all of us. I think Bob and I had a really weird flight out of Cleveland one year in which MGK was on it, and it was a very strange flight. MGK and his cat, his spotted house cat, I don't even know if it was spotted or he spray painted it, sat 2 seats away from me, next to the biggest bodyguard I've ever seen in my life, whom I still don't know how he got into the bathroom, that bodyguard. Great. I don't go to the restroom in planes for obvious reasons. I'm not sure how he got in there. But anyway, yeah, so Bob and I shared a very weird flight back. But tell Bob I said hi. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe wherever, YouTube, the podcast feed, do all of that stuff. Go to sharp.football. We'll be back to talk with you real soon.